Marcus Webb pushed his cargo cart through the busy halls of Luna Station. The metal wheels made a soft humming sound on the smooth floor. Around him, strange beings from different worlds walked, talked, and traded. Some had blue skin, others had 4 arms, and a few floated in the air inside clear bubbles. "Stay close, Emma," Marcus called to his 8-year-old daughter. She walked beside him, her eyes wide with wonder. This was her first time on a space station. "Dad, look at that one." Emma pointed at a tall creature with purple fur and 3 eyes. "It's so cool," Marcus smiled. After Emma's mother died 2 years ago, it was just the two of them. He worked as a cargo hauler, moving goods between Earth and the space stations. It was hard work, but it paid well. Today he had to deliver food supplies to the station, and Emma was on school break. "Remember what we talked about," Marcus said. "Stay where I can see you. This place is safe, but it's easy to get lost." Emma nodded, but her attention was already somewhere else. She watched a group of small, round aliens roll past like living balls. They made musical sounds as they moved. Luna Station was Earth's first real step into the galaxy. For 50 years, humans had been trying to join the Galactic Commerce Collective. It was like a big club where different alien races traded goods and shared technology. If Earth could join, humans would have access to amazing new inventions and medicines. The problem was that humans were new. Most alien races had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. They saw humans as children playing with dangerous toys. But slowly, Earth was proving itself worthy. Marcus finished his delivery at the cargo bay. The station manager, a friendly woman named Lisa, signed his papers. "All done," she said. "The diplomatic meeting is happening in Section C if you want to watch. It's pretty exciting stuff." Marcus checked his watch. Their transport back to Earth wouldn't leave for 3 hours. "What do you think, Emma? Want to see some real aliens making deals?" Emma's face lit up. "Yes, please." They made their way to Section C. The diplomatic area was fancier than the rest of the station. The walls were white and clean, with soft lighting. Large windows showed the Earth hanging in space like a blue marble. A crowd of humans had gathered to watch through glass doors. Inside a big conference room, alien diplomats sat around a curved table. Marcus recognized some of them from news reports. There was Ambassador Torres from Earth, looking nervous in her best suit. Across from her sat the aliens. The most important one was tall and thin, with gray skin and long fingers. His eyes were completely black, like pools of oil. This was Ambassador Vex from the Hegemony, one of the most powerful alien governments. The Hegemony controls trade routes to over 200 worlds, a man next to Marcus whispered to his friend. "If they say yes to Earth joining, we're in. If they say no..." Marcus felt a chill. Earth's future hung on this meeting. Emma pressed her face against the glass, watching the aliens talk. Marcus couldn't hear what they were saying, but he could see hand gestures and the way the aliens moved. Some seemed friendly, others looked bored. "Dad, I need to use the bathroom," Emma said that Marcus looked around. He could see a sign for restrooms down the hall. "Okay, but come right back. Don't wander off." "I won't," Emma promised. Marcus watched her walk toward the restrooms, then turned back to the meeting. Ambassador Torres was speaking now, showing charts and graphs on a big screen. She was explaining Earth's trade capabilities. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Marcus started to worry. "Emma?" he called softly, not wanting to disturb the crowd watching the meeting. No answer. Marcus felt his heart beat faster. He walked toward the restrooms, but Emma wasn't there. He checked the women's restroom by asking a passing lady to look inside. "No little girl in there," the woman said. Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. The diplomatic section was large, with many hallways and rooms. Emma could be anywhere. He started searching, calling her name quietly. Other people noticed and began helping. A security guard joined the search. "We'll find her," the guard said. "Kids get curious. She's probably just exploring." Marcus hoped he was right, but his fear grew with each empty room they checked. Meanwhile, Emma had indeed gotten curious. After using the bathroom, she saw a hallway she hadn't noticed before. It was quieter than the others, with soft blue lighting. She could hear strange, beautiful music coming from somewhere ahead. She followed the sound, even though she knew she should go back to her father. The music was unlike anything she had ever heard. It sounded like wind chimes mixed with wail songs. The hallway led to a small room with an open door. Inside, Emma saw something amazing. The walls glowed with soft colors that moved like water. In the center of the room sat a table made of what looked like crystal. On the table was a bowl filled with the most beautiful things Emma had ever seen. They looked like candy, but they sparkled like jewels. Some were red like rubies, others blue like sapphires, and a few were clear like diamonds. They gave off a sweet smell that made Emma's mouth water. She looked around the room. No one was there. The pretty things in the bowl seemed to call to her. They looked so delicious, and she hadn't eaten lunch yet. Emma walked closer to the table. The crystal bowl was just at her eye level. The jewel-like candies sparkled in the colored light from the walls. She reached out and took one. It was warm to the touch and felt smooth like a marble. She popped it into her mouth. It was the most delicious thing she had ever tasted. It was sweet like honey, but also had flavors she couldn't name. It made her feel happy and warm inside. Without thinking, Emma ate another one, then another. They were so good that she couldn't stop. Before she knew it, the bowl was empty. Emma suddenly realized what she had done. She had eaten someone else's food. Her father had taught her that taking things without permission was wrong. She heard footsteps in the hallway. Someone was coming? Emma quickly ran out of the room and back toward where she had left her father. She found Marcus in the hallway, looking worried and calling her name. "Emma, there you are. I was so scared." "Where were you?" "I'm sorry, Dad, I got lost," Emma said. She felt guilty about the pretty candies, but she didn't want to get in trouble. Marcus hugged her tight. "Don't ever do that again. Promise me." "I promise," Emma said. They walked back to the viewing area. The diplomatic meeting was still going on, but something had changed. Ambassador Vex looked angry. He was standing up, pointing at the other aliens and speaking in a loud voice. "What's happening?" "Marcus," asked the security guard. The guard looked confused. "I'm not sure. The hegemony ambassador seems upset about something. He keeps talking about a sacred violation and ancient laws." Marcus felt a cold fear in his stomach, but he didn't know why. He held Emma's hand tighter as they watched the meeting fall apart. Ambassador Vex stormed out of the conference room. As he passed the crowd of watching humans, his black eyes seemed to scan their faces. When his gaze fell on Emma, he stopped. Emma grabbed her father's hand tighter. The tall alien scared her, especially now that she had done something wrong. Vex stared at Emma for a long moment. Then he smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had just won a game. "Interesting," Vex said in perfect English. His voice was smooth and cold. "Very interesting indeed." He walked away, leaving Marcus with a feeling that something terrible was about to happen. Emma looked up at her father with worried eyes. She wanted to tell him about the pretty candies, but the words wouldn't come out. Neither of them knew that. Emma's innocent mistake would change their lives forever. The next morning, Marcus woke up in his small apartment on Earth feeling uneasy. He couldn't shake the memory of Ambassador Vex's cold smile. Emma seemed normal, playing with her toys and eating breakfast like any other day. "Dad, those pretty candies I saw yesterday tasted really good," Emma said suddenly. Marcus nearly choked on his coffee. "What candies, sweetheart?" Emma looked down at her cereal. "I found some in a pretty room. They were like jewels, but sweet." "I'm sorry I didn't tell you. Am I in trouble?" Before Marcus could answer, his communication device beeped. The screen showed an official message from Luna Station. His heart sank as he read it. "Marcus Webb, you are requested to appear before the Diplomatic Council immediately. Matter of urgent importance. Transport will arrive in 1 hour." Emma saw her father's worried face. "Dad, what's wrong?" Marcus knelt down beside her chair. "Emma, I need you to tell me exactly what you ate yesterday. Where did you find these candies?" Emma described the crystal room, the beautiful bowl, and the jewel-like treats. With each word, Marcus felt more afraid. An hour later, they were back on Luna Station. This time, instead of going to the cargo bay, they were escorted to the diplomatic section by two serious-looking security officers. The conference room was full of aliens and humans. Ambassador Torres sat at one end of the table, looking pale and tired. At the other end sat Ambassador Vex, calm and pleased with himself. "Ah, Mr. Webb," Vex said as they entered. "And the young lady who enjoyed our hospitality?" Emma hid behind her father's leg. She could tell this tall alien was the reason everyone looked so worried. "Please sit down," said Ambassador Torres. She looked at Marcus with sad eyes. "I'm afraid we have a serious problem." Ambassador Vex stood up slowly. He was even taller than Marcus remembered, nearly 7 feet high. His black eyes seemed to see everything. "Mr. Webb, your daughter has committed a grave offense against hegemony." "Law," Vex began. "She consumed the sacred offerings of binding." "Sacred what?" Marcus asked. "She just ate some candy she found." Vex smiled that cold smile again. "Those were not candy, human. They were Kethmoran crystals, grown over 30 years in the sacred pools of my homeworld. Each crystal represents a contract worth the trade rights to an entire star system." The room went silent. Marcus felt like the floor was falling away beneath him. Ambassador Torres spoke quietly. "Marcus, according to hegemony law, whoever consumes the sacred offerings becomes bound in what they call a debt of sustenance. The person who ate them must serve the hegemony until the debt is repaid." "How long?" Marcus asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Vex consulted a crystal tablet. 847 Earth years, Emma gasped. She didn't understand all of it, but she knew it was bad. "Dad, I'm sorry, I didn't know." Marcus picked up his daughter and held her close. "It's not your fault, sweetheart. You're just a child. That is irrelevant," Vex said. "The law is clear. The debt exists regardless of age or intent." An alien with blue skin and 4 arms spoke up. This was Ambassador Kryn from the Democratic Worlds Alliance. "Surely there must be some exception for children who don't understand your customs." Vex shook his head. "The law has stood for 3,000 years. We cannot change it for one human child's mistake." Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. "You left those things where a child could find them. This was no accident." Vex's expression didn't change. "We have done nothing wrong. The offerings were placed in a meditation chamber for our religious ceremonies. It is not our fault if humans cannot control their offspring." Ambassador Torres looked sick. "Marcus, I've been studying this all night. The hegemony law is recognized by the Galactic Commerce Collective. If we don't honor it, Earth will be banned from galactic trade forever. So what are my options?" Marcus asked. Docs activated a hologram showing a contract written in strange symbols. "You will report to Hegemony World Nexus 7 within 1 standard week. There you will work in our mining operations until your debt is paid. Your daughter will remain on Earth, of course. Children are not useful for labor." Marcus felt his world crashing down. 800 years. He would die of old age long before the debt was paid. Emma would grow up without him, and he would never see her again. "There has to be another way," Marcus said desperately. "Actually," said a quiet voice from the corner, "there might be." Everyone turned to look. A small, elderly human man stepped forward. He wore simple clothes and thick glasses. Marcus had never seen him before. "Who are you?" Ambassador Torres asked. "Professor James Wright, retired. I teach ancient law at Earth University. I've been studying hegemony legal codes for 40 years, Vex frowned. "What do you want, old man?" Professor Wright smiled. "I want to help Mr. Webb understand his rights under your law. You see, I've noticed something interesting about the debt of sustenance." He pulled out an old book filled with notes and papers. "The original law, written in old hegemony script, is quite specific. It says the debt can be repaid through equivalent service or equivalent sustenance provided to the wronged party." Vex waved his hand dismissively. "No being in the galaxy can provide sustenance equivalent to the sacred offerings. That clause is meaningless." "Perhaps," Professor Wright said. But Mr. Webb has the right to attempt it, does he not? For the first time, Vex looked uncertain. He consulted his crystal tablet, scrolling through text faster than human eyes could follow. The law does permit a challenge of sustenance, Vex admitted reluctantly, but it is pointless. No species has ever succeeded. Marcus stepped forward. What exactly would I have to do? Professor Wright answered. You would have 30 days to prepare a meal that equals or exceeds the value of what Emma consumed. If you succeed, the debt is void. And if I fail? Marcus asked. Then you report for your 800 years of service, Vex said, with satisfaction. Emma tugged on her father's shirt. Dad, you make the best food in the whole world? Remember Mom's recipes you learned? Marcus looked down at his daughter. She believed in him completely. He thought about his dead wife, Linda, who had taught him to cook with love and care. He thought about his grandmother's old recipes, passed down through generations. I accept the challenge, Marcus said. The room erupted in voices. Aliens spoke in different languages, humans argued, and Emma cheered. Vex raised his hand for silence. Very well, you have 30 standard days. The challenge will take place here on Luna Station, witnessed by representatives from all major governments. As the meeting ended, Professor Wright approached Marcus. That was brave, young man. But you should know, the hegemony has used this trap before. What do you mean? Marcus asked. They leave the sacred offerings where curious children can find them. They've captured 17 human families this way over the past 10 years. None of the parents who attempted the challenge of sustenance have ever succeeded. Marcus felt cold fear in his stomach. Then why did you tell me about it? Professor Wright smiled sadly. Because sometimes, Mr. Webb, the impossible just needs the right person to attempt it. Your daughter believes in you. Maybe that's enough. As they walked back to their transport, Emma held her father's hand tightly. Dad, are you scared? She asked. Marcus looked at his daughter, the most important thing in his universe. Yes, sweetheart. But I'm going to do everything I can to stay. With you? Good, Emma said. Because I know you can do it. You're the best dad ever. Marcus squeezed her hand. He had 30 days to do the impossible. Somehow, he had to find a way to feed an ancient alien appetite that had never been satisfied. The clock was ticking, and his daughter's future hung in the balance, but as they boarded their ship back to Earth, Marcus began to form a plan. The hegemony thought no human could provide equivalent sustenance to their sacred crystals. They were about to discover just how wrong they could be. Back on Earth, Marcus had 28 days left. He sat in his small kitchen, staring at his grandmother's old recipe book. The pages were yellow with age, and some of the writing was faded. But these recipes held memories of love, comfort, and family. Emma sat across from him, drawing pictures of the aliens they had met. Dad, what made those crystal things so special? Marcus had been wondering the same thing. He picked up his communication device and called Professor Wright. Professor, I need to understand something. What makes the sacred offerings so valuable? To the hegemony? Professor Wright's voice crackled through the speaker. Good question. The Kethmorn crystals aren't just food, Marcus. They're pure nutrition compressed into crystal form. No waste, no emotion, no culture. Just perfect biological fuel. That's it? Marcus asked. Just nutrition? To the hegemony? Yes. They eliminated cooking and culture from their society thousands of years ago. They see food as fuel, nothing more. Eating is a waste of time, to them. Marcus felt a spark of hope. So they've never experienced food as anything but fuel? Never. They don't understand taste, comfort, or the emotional connection humans have with food. To them, a meal is just chemicals entering the body. After the call ended, Marcus sat quietly for a long moment. Then he smiled. For the first time since this nightmare began, he felt like he might have a chance. Emma, we're going to visit some friends, he said. Their first stop was the Earth Agricultural Center. Marcus's friend, Dr. Kate Phillips, worked there as a biochemist. She had been trying to develop better food for space travel. Marcus, I heard about your situation on the news, Dr. Phillips said as they entered her lab. How can I help? Marcus explained his plan. I need to create food that's not just nutritious, but something the hegemony has never experienced before. Dr. Phillips nodded thoughtfully. Interesting. I've been studying alien biology reports. The hegemony has taste receptors, but they've never used them. Their food is designed to bypass taste completely. She led them to a computer terminal. Look at this. Hegemony biology is similar to humans in many ways. They can taste sweet, sour, bitter, and umami. But they've never experienced these sensations combined with positive emotions. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Think about it. When you eat your grandmother's apple pie, you don't just taste apples and cinnamon. You taste memories of her kitchen, her love, the feeling of being safe and cared for. The hegemony has never experienced that connection. Emma looked up from the drawing she was making. Like when Dad makes me soup when I'm sick? It tastes like love, Dr. Phillips smiled. Exactly, Emma. Your father doesn't just make food, he makes comfort. Their next stop was Little Italy, a neighborhood where Marcus's friend Tony ran a family restaurant. Tony had learned to cook from his great-grandmother, who came from Italy over a century ago. Marcus, my friend, Tony called out as they entered the restaurant. I saw the news. This is terrible, but maybe we can help? Marcus explained what he needed. Tony listened carefully, then nodded. I understand. You need food that tells a story? Food that carries emotion? This is what my family has done for generations. Tony led them into his kitchen. Look, the hegemony, they eat crystals, yes? Cold. Hard? Efficient? But what if we show them something different? What if we show them warmth? He began pulling ingredients from shelves and refrigerators. My great-grandmother used to say that food is love made visible. When she cooked, she put her heart into every dish. Emma watched with fascination as Tony began preparing a simple tomato sauce. See how I add the garlic slowly? I listen to the sizzle. I smell the aroma. This is not just cooking. This is creating an experience. Over the next week, Marcus worked with chefs, scientists, and food experts from around the world. He learned that humans were unique in the galaxy. While other species ate for survival, humans had turned eating into art, comfort, and connection. He visited his old friend Maria, who ran a bakery in Mexico City. She taught him how bread could carry the warmth of family gatherings. He learned from Chef Yuki in Tokyo how presentation could make simple ingredients feel like a gift. In New Orleans, he discovered how spices could create layers of flavor that told stories, but it was his neighbor, Mrs. Chun, who gave him the most important lesson. Marcus, she said as they sat in her garden, you are thinking too hard. The secret is not in fancy techniques. The secret is in why you cook. She handed him a bowl of simple rice porridge. It was plain, nothing special. But as Marcus tasted it, he felt something amazing. The rice had been cooked with care, seasoned with love, and served with the intention of providing comfort. When my children were small and sick, I made this for them, Mrs. Chun said. It's not the ingredients that matter. It's the love you put into it, Marcus understood. The hegemony had never experienced food made with love. They had never tasted a meal prepared by someone who cared about their happiness. With 2 weeks left, Marcus began his final preparations. He contacted farmers who grew vegetables with passion, not just profit. He found a dairy farmer who spoke to his cows by name. He located a beekeeper who harvested honey with respect for the bees. Each ingredient was chosen not just for its nutrition, but for the story it carried. The tomatoes came from a family farm where 4 generations had tended the same soil. The herbs were grown in a garden where children played and learned. The bread would rise with yeast that had been kept alive in the same family for 200 years. Emma helped him test recipes in their kitchen. Dad, this one tastes like home, she said, trying a simple soup. That's the point, sweetheart. Marcus replied, I'm not just making food. I'm making memories. Professor Wright visited them during the final week. Marcus, I've been researching Ambassador Vex. He's been away from his homeworld for over 30 years. He's dedicated his life to hegemony service, but he's never experienced personal connection or comfort. What are you saying? Marcus asked. I'm saying he might be hungrier than he realizes. Not for food, but for something he's never had. Something humans take for granted. Marcus looked at his daughter, who was helping him mix ingredients for a simple cake. She sang while she worked. The same song her mother used to sing. This was what made humans special. They didn't just eat food. They created experiences. They built memories. They shared love through every meal. The night before the challenge, Marcus sat with Emma in their kitchen. Tomorrow they would return to Luna Station. Tomorrow, he would face Ambassador Vex with nothing but human cooking and the hope that food could bridge the gap between worlds. "Dad, are you ready?" Emma asked. Marcus looked at the ingredients he had prepared. Simple things, really. Flour, eggs, vegetables, herbs. But each one carried the love and care of the people who had grown it, prepared it, and chosen it. "Yes, sweetheart," he said. "I think I am." Emma hugged him tight. "I'm proud of you, Dad. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know that." Marcus held his daughter close. Tomorrow he would attempt the impossible. He would try to feed not just an alien's body, but his soul. He would offer something the hegemony had never experienced, a meal made with love. The challenge would begin. In 18 hours, Marcus had no idea if his plan would work. But for the first time since this nightmare began, he felt ready to try. The fate of their family rested in his hands, and in the simple power of human cooking. The challenge room on Luna Station had been transformed. Where once there was a simple conference table, now stood a complete kitchen. Marcus had requested basic cooking equipment, and the station had provided everything he needed. Representatives from dozens of alien species filled the observation area. Some floated in energy bubbles, others stood on multiple legs, and a few hung from the ceiling. All of them watched with curiosity. No one had ever seen a human attempt the challenge of sustenance before. Ambassador Vex sat at the head of a formal dining table, looking calm and confident. His black eyes showed no emotion as he watched Marcus arrange his ingredients. "You have 4 hours," Vex announced. "You must prepare a meal that equals or exceeds the nutritional and cultural value of the sacred offerings your daughter consumed." Emma sat in the observation area with Professor Wright and Ambassador Torres. She held a small sign that read, "Go Dad," in bright crayon letters. Marcus took a deep breath and began. His hands were steady as he started the first dish. He had practiced this meal dozens of times over the past month, but today felt different. Today, everything depended on getting it right. He began with something simple: bread. Not just any bread, but a recipe his grandmother had taught him when he was Emma's age. As he mixed the flour, water, and yeast, he thought about all the times his grandmother had made this same bread. For Sunday dinners, for sick children, for celebrations and comfort, the watching aliens murmured among themselves. They didn't understand why Marcus was working so slowly, so carefully. Their food was always prepared by machines in seconds. Next, Marcus started a soup. He heated olive oil in a large pot and added onions. The sweet smell filled the room. Some of the aliens wrinkled, and their noses or made sounds of confusion. They had never experienced the aroma of cooking food. As the onions cooked, Marcus added carrots, celery, and garlic. Each ingredient was cut by hand with care and attention. He could have used a machine to chop everything in seconds, but that wasn't the point. The point was the love and time he put into each cut. Ambassador Vex watched with growing impatience. "This is taking too long. Our food production is efficient. This is wasteful." Professor Wright spoke from the observation area. "That's exactly the point, Ambassador. Humans don't just eat for efficiency, we eat for experience." Marcus added tomatoes to the soup, fresh herbs from Mrs. Chun's garden, and a special ingredient: a small amount of cheese that had been aged for 2 years by a family in Italy. As the soup simmered, he began preparing vegetables. He roasted carrots with honey from bees that lived in fields of wildflowers. He sautéed green beans with almonds that had been grown in groves planted by families 3 generations ago. Each dish carried not just flavor, but history. The bread was rising, filling the room with the warm scent of yeast and grain. Some of the alien observers leaned forward, sniffing the air with confusion and curiosity. For the main course, Marcus prepared something special. He had brought fish that had been caught by a fishing family from Maine. They had been catching fish in the same waters for over 100 years, using techniques passed down from father to son. As he cooked the fish, Marcus told its story. This salmon swam in clean, cold waters. It was caught by a man whose great-grandfather fished these same waters. When he caught it, he thanked the ocean for its gift. Ambassador Vex frowned. Food cannot have stories. It is simply protein and nutrients. To humans, everything has a story, Marcus replied, carefully seasoning the fish with herbs he had grown in his own garden. As the meal neared completion, Marcus began preparing the final dish, dessert. He made a simple apple pie using apples from an orchard where his grandmother had picked fruit as a child. The crust was made with butter from cows that grazed in peaceful meadows, but this wasn't just any pie. As Marcus worked, he shared memories. He told the watching crowd about his grandmother teaching him to bake. He described the kitchen where his mother had learned the same recipe. He talked about making this same pie for Emma when she was sad or scared. The room fell silent as Marcus worked. Even the alien observers seemed to sense something different happening. This wasn't just food preparation. This was something they had never witnessed before. When the timer rang, Marcus stepped back. The table was set with a complete meal. Fresh bread with butter, vegetable soup, roasted vegetables, perfectly cooked fish, and warm apple pie. The aromas filled the room like a symphony of scents, but Marcus wasn't finished. He had one more surprise. Ambassador Vex, Marcus said, before you taste this meal, I want to tell you something about yourself. Vex raised an eyebrow. What could you possibly know about me? Marcus pulled out a small device Professor Wright had given him. It showed information about Vex's home planet. You've been in diplomatic service for 32 years. You haven't been home in all that time. You've dedicated your life to serving the hegemony. This is correct, but irrelevant, Vex said. Is it? Marcus asked. Professor Wright found some interesting information. Your home planet, Kepler-7, has beautiful crystalline formations. The native plants glow with soft blue light. The air smells like flowers after rain. For the first time, Vex's expression changed. Slightly, a shadow of something memory? Longing crossed his face. Marcus continued, you left behind family, a partner. Children, maybe. You've spent 3 decades in cold space stations and diplomatic chambers, eating crystals that taste like nothing, surrounded by beings from other worlds. Vex stood up abruptly. Enough. This has nothing to do with your challenge, doesn't it? Marcus asked gently. When did you last eat a meal that reminded you of home? When did you last taste something that made you feel happy? The room was completely silent. Emma watched her father with wide eyes. She had never seen him speak so confidently to such an important alien. Marcus gestured to the meal he had prepared. This food isn't just nutrition, Ambassador. Each dish carries the memory of someone who cared. The bread recipe has been passed down through my family for generations. The soup is made the way my neighbor makes it for her sick children. The fish was caught by a man who loves the ocean. He picked up a small bowl of the soup and offered it to Vex. This isn't just food, it's comfort, it's home. It's the feeling of being cared for. Ambassador Vex stared at the bowl for a long moment. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for it. I don't understand, Vex said quietly. How can food carry emotion? Try it, Marcus said. Let me show you something your people forgot long ago. Vex lifted the spoon to his lips and tasted the soup. What happened next shocked everyone in the room. Ambassador Vex, the cold and calculating diplomat, closed his eyes and made a sound that was almost like a sigh. For a moment, his face showed something no one had ever seen from a hegemony official. Vulnerability. Duck started to speak, then stopped. His eyes opened, and Marcus could see they were bright with unshed tears. What have you done to me? Vex whispered. Marcus smiled gently. I've reminded you what it feels like to be cared for. The challenge was far from over, but in that moment Marcus knew he had already accomplished something impossible. he had touched. The heart of a being who had forgotten he had won. The real test was just beginning. Ambassador Vex sat frozen, the spoon still in his hand. A single tear rolled down his gray cheeks, something no one in the room had ever seen from a hegemony official. "This is impossible," Vex whispered. "Food cannot make me feel ... does." Marcus sat down across from him. "But it does, doesn't it? What are you feeling right now?" Vex stared at the bowl of soup as if it held dangerous magic. I remember. My mother, she used to make something warm when I was young, before I joined the diplomatic service. I had forgotten." The watching aliens murmured in amazement. Ambassador Torres covered her mouth with her hands. Emma squeezed Professor Wright's arm, hope shining in her eyes. "Try the bread," Marcus said gently. Vex picked up a piece of the warm bread. As he bit into it, his eyes widened. The simple act of chewing seemed to overwhelm him with memories he had buried for decades. "My homeworld," Vex said slowly. "There were grains that grew near our city. My family would harvest them together during the warm season. We would sing while we worked." More tears fell down his face. Around the room, other aliens watched in fascination and confusion. They had never seen emotions displayed so openly. Marcus offered him the roasted vegetables next. "These carrots were grown in soil that has been tended by the same family for 4 generations. The farmer talks to his plants while he works. He believes they grow better when they know they are loved." Vex ate slowly, savoring each bite. With every taste, his cold diplomatic mask cracked a little more. "I don't understand this sensation. The food is ... warm, not just in temperature but in feeling." "That's because it was made with care," Marcus explained. "Every ingredient was chosen not just for nutrition, but for the love that went into growing it, preparing it, and sharing it." The fish came next. As Vex tasted it, he began to speak about things he had never shared with anyone. "I had a partner on my homeworld, Kala. She would catch silver fish in the crystal streams. We would cook them together over open flames and watch the twin moons rise." His voice broke slightly. "I haven't thought of her in 20 years. I told myself such memories were weakness." Marcus served the apple pie last. "This recipe belonged to my grandmother. She taught it to my mother, who taught it to me. When I make this pie, I feel connected to all the women in my family who came before me." Vex took a bite of the pie and closed his eyes completely. For a long moment he said nothing. When he opened his eyes, he was no longer the cold ambassador who had threatened Marcus's family. "I understand now," Vex said quietly. "What your daughter consumed was not just nutrition. She tasted love, she experienced comfort, she felt the care of hands that prepared something beautiful." He stood up slowly and walked to the observation window. Earth hung in space beyond the glass, blue and beautiful. For 3,000 years, the hegemony has eliminated inefficiency from our society. We removed emotion from eating because it slowed us down. We made food into fuel because fuel is logical. Vex turned back to face the room. "But we lost something, didn't we? We forgot what it means to nourish the soul along with the body." Ambassador Torres stood up carefully. "Ambassador." "Vex, what are you saying?" Vex walked back to Marcus. "I'm saying that your challenge of sustenance has succeeded in ways I never expected. You have provided something of greater value than our sacred offerings." The room erupted in voices. Aliens spoke in dozens of languages. Humans gasped and cheered. Emma jumped up and down, clapping her hands, but Vex raised his hand for silence. "However, there is more I must tell you all." The room went quiet again. Marcus felt his heart sink. Had he misunderstood? "Mr. Webb, your daughter was not the first human child to find our sacred offerings. Over the past 10 years, 17 human families have fallen into this same trap." Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. "You did this on purpose." "Yes," Vex admitted. "The hegemony has been studying human behavior. We discovered that human parents would do anything to protect their children. We used this knowledge to acquire long-term labor." Professor Wright stood up in the observation area. "That's slavery. That's illegal under galactic law." Vex nodded sadly. "Yes, it is. and I have been part of it. He looked at Marcus with shame in his black eyes. Your meal has shown me something I had forgotten. It has reminded me what it means to care for others instead of exploiting them. He activated his crystal tablet and began typing rapidly. I am hereby dissolving all debt of sustenance contracts involving human families. All 17 families currently in hegemony service will be freed immediately. The room exploded in cheers and celebration. Emma ran to her father, who picked her up and spun her around, but Vex wasn't finished. Furthermore, I am recommending to the Hegemony Council that we study human food culture. Perhaps it is time for our people to remember what we lost when we chose efficiency over emotion. Ambassador Torres approached Vex with tears in her eyes. Ambassador, this means Earth's application to join the Galactic Commerce Collective ... will be approved immediately, Vex said. But more than that. Humans have something unique to offer the galaxy. You don't just feed bodies, you feed souls. Over the following hours, celebrations spread throughout Luna Station. The trapped human families were contacted and told they were free. Earth's acceptance into galactic trade was announced across all news networks. Marcus sat with Emma in the station's observation lounge, watching ships arrive and depart from the busy docking bays. Dad, you did it, Emma said, leaning against his shoulder. We did it, sweetheart. If you hadn't eaten those crystals, we never would have discovered what humans could teach the galaxy. Professor Wright joined them, carrying 3 cups of hot chocolate. The Galactic Commerce Collective has made an interesting offer, Marcus. They want to establish a new position, Cultural Food Ambassador. They want someone to travel between worlds, teaching other species about human cooking traditions. Marcus looked at his daughter. What do you think, Emma? Want to see the galaxy? Emma's eyes lit up with excitement. Can we teach aliens how to make cookies? Marcus laughed. I think we can teach them much more than that. 6 months later, Marcus and Emma traveled aboard a diplomatic ship to Vex's homeworld. The gray-skinned diplomat had kept his promise. The hegemony was slowly learning to add emotion back into their lives. Starting with their food, Vex met them at the spaceport, looking healthier and happier than he had on Luna Station. Welcome to Kepler 7, my friends. I have someone I want you to meet. He led them to a beautiful female hegemony citizen with kind eyes. This is Kala, my partner. After 30 years apart, your meal reminded me what truly matters. Emma ran up to Kala and hugged her legs. Hi, my dad is going to teach you how to make the best food in the galaxy. Kala smiled, something hegemony citizens were learning to do again. I would like that very much, little one. That evening in Kala's kitchen overlooking the crystal formations of Kepler 7, Marcus taught his first official cooking class. He showed Vex and Kala how to make simple bread, explaining that the most important ingredient wasn't flour or water. The most important ingredient, Marcus said as Emma helped him knead the dough, is love. As the bread baked and filled the kitchen with warmth, Marcus looked out at the alien landscape. Emma played with Vex's young nephew, teaching him human games. Kala asked questions about Earth recipes with genuine curiosity. Sometimes the smallest actions changed everything. Emma's innocent mistake had led to something beautiful, a galaxy learning that food could be more than fuel. It could be comfort, memory, and love shared between worlds. The debt was more than paid. It had been transformed into a gift that would feed souls across the stars for generations to come. Marcus smiled as he watched his daughter laugh with her new alien friends. Tomorrow they would travel to another world, share another meal, and spread another piece of human warmth throughout the galaxy. The adventure was just beginning.